Hello, I'm Amy Lewis. Thanks for tuning in to What Does Good Care Look Like? I'm joined by people with lived experience, sector leaders, frontline professionals and change makers shaping the future of social care. Together we unpack what's working, what needs to change and how we can make good care common practice. We release new episodes regularly, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you never miss a conversation. Take care. Hi Sajad.
Hi.
We've been talking about this episode of What Does Good Care Look Like for a little while, so I'm very excited to have you here. You are Dudley Council's Promoting Independence Commissioner, is that right?
Yes, that's right,
yeah. So we'll talk about that in a bit, but I'd like to start with a bit of your background. So aware that you started out as an occupational therapist, which I learnt recently, and I think you had a number of different roles across health and social care services, which I think probably led to a lot of your kind of wide view on things as a commissioner. But in those, in all those different roles, I'm sure you've got lots of different experiences of what good care did look like and how to create that. So if you want to start with sharing one of those, that would be really good.
Yeah, sure. So as you say, I'm qualified as an occupational therapist before becoming a commissioner. And I worked in the field for several years. I worked in mental health and social care, and worked with a range of people, predominantly mental health illnesses, but young adults, older people, also working with people with learning disability, and some sort of examples where, as you say, good care stick out for me in my career, and a lot of that was around how the approach was very individualized, very person-centered. And as you know, occupational therapy is very much about enabling people. So where there were opportunities to enable the person to help them to be as independent as possible to achieve the goals they wanted to. So an example, I think you're mentioning before about a young person who I was working with, and they wanted to be able to get out and about the community. But we actually started on something very simple. We started on making a cup of tea. And so we started with breakfast, and then we built up to a sort of larger meals, eventually working up to where they were choosing to make a 3-course meal from scratch.
Wow.
Which was amazing, really, to see that sort of transformation. As you can appreciate, with that, there was a lot of work that needed to go in. So
steps to that.
Yeah, absolutely. All the different steps that you needed to do to go out and access the community, to plan, to budget, and all the different things that go with that.
And I often find where there's an interest like that, so where there's a goal and an aim to achieve one thing, like you've just described, it opens up opportunities for other things, because you almost got your motivator, haven't you?
Yes.
There. And then in terms of working towards that goal, there are lots of different other things that you will need to access, and it opens up someone's world a little bit.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. You can start from something as I suppose, what was your one focus goal of, I want to be able to go out, to using that as you say, as a motivator for a range of skills that the person can develop. And with this young person, we were able to get to a position where they were accessing the community independently. They chose activities that they wanted to do, which included having to commute long distances. So I think essentially you're going from a person who was very isolated, not engaging with society, not engaging with their peers, to a person that was choosing to live their life in a way that they wanted to. And for me, I think the thing that was the key around good care was I was just a facilitator. They were the doer.
Yeah.
So I helped to offer them some of the tools that they might need, a little bit of direction, but really the inspiration for what they wanted to do and where they wanted to go came from them, and our service and that I worked in allowed us to be able to enable that to happen for that person. And I think that's for me is the key thing, is helping people to live the life that they want to.
Yeah.
I think I said in a sort of preamble to this about giving, it's a balance between what people need and what people want to achieve.
Because you must have found some challenging moments, like where actually people are less motivated, they've maybe struggled, maybe are really not wanting to get up and motivate themselves to do things. How do you work through those kind of moments?
That's a good question.
Because you've done it.
Yeah. I always keep in mind something one of my managers said once, and they gave an analogy of a person sitting on a sofa.
Yeah.
And my manager said to me, imagine this person is sat on their most comfortable sofa, holding their favorite drink,
Lovely.
watching their favorite TV program. And you come along as Mr. OT and say, I want you to put your drink down, I want you to get up, and I want you to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
What's the response you're going to see?
Probably can't say it right now, but it wouldn't be very polite.
Absolutely. So it's about finding what it is that the person will want to do more than sitting on that sofa.
Yeah, good point.
And that sort of using that as the inspiration to say, well, do you really want to have that drink now, or would you want to do this thing that you really enjoy? And I can look at ways that we can make it easier for you. I can look at ways to enable you to access it. And that's kind of where I sort of, and that's the approach that I take.
Yeah.
With people, and particularly working with people with mental health needs.
Yeah. And you are quite a patient man, I think. Do you think that is something that is essential to this kind of work? Is that kind of definitely driving people forward and challenging them, but in a way perhaps that is also listening at the same time?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to work at the pace of the individual.
Yeah.
We all work in different ways. We all develop and grow in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
We all think differently.
Yeah.
And it's about, again, I think another sort of, I'm a visual thinker.
Yeah.
And another sort of picture that I have in my mind when I come to work with people is, it's a bit like, you know how you used to get children in school with skipping ropes.
Yeah.
Do you know? And you might have one rope going and then the other person joins.
Yeah.
And then the skipping time.
Yeah. So
I'm the second person that
French skipping, I think. I don't know why. I don't know if it was French, but I'm sure that's what we called it.
I never partook in it, but I did observe it, and I probably got my feet tied up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the analogy that I think is, for me, the picture I see as, working with people. So you have to be patient with them because you're working at their pace. You're working in their life. You're working in their life, and change takes time.
Yeah.
We all, whether we receive services or whether we don't receive services, change takes time. And for people, when they have other issues to deal with, like mental health, like coping with the world, like being isolated, you have to build on things at their pace. And what I find as well with when you work in that way, it lasts longer. So, the change is longer lasting. Whereas if you push somebody through to do something, as soon as you step away, you're no longer there to support them in that position.
Yeah.
So they find it harder to keep that momentum going or keep that change going.
We've talked before, haven't we, about when you enable somebody and kind of build up the toolkit for them as to how they could do something, that you've seen people take on that mantle and kind of try and do it for themselves, or there's somebody in a group that you once worked in?
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing change, actually. This person, they came into we were doing a group, which was over a 12-week period. Each week was a different task, or each week was a different skill, or sharing of information or knowledge to the group members. And they came in the first week. They had to be escorted by one of my colleagues. And I was informed afterwards that before they came to the group, they actually was sick, physically sick from the anxiety, stress. And we continued to work with this person and work with them through the group. And by about week 12, they were saying, can I actually run a session myself?
Amazing.
And I was, absolutely amazing to see. So incredible. And obviously we said, by all means, whatever you need, how can we support you with it?
Yeah.
And it was probably one of the best sessions that we had, because it was done by a person who had gone through the process.
Yeah.
Who
a better position to be in. You understand, I mean, especially his position where he was so nervous about being there, that it was coming out physically, that actually you kind of understand all of the the start, the middle and the end of that, don't you, and where you can get to.
Yes, very much so. And to get to a position where, as you say, that they were able to manage their anxiety, and go from a position of can't actually come into the room because it's so difficult for me emotionally and physically and psychologically, to standing in a room full of 12 to 14 people, and actually holding the room, holding the attention of the people that were there. So it's so nice to see when that happens. When you think, okay, I'm not needed now.
And is that kind of the draw to something like occupational therapy? Is that actually you see people, sometimes at their lowest positions in life, and then grow up, develop, move on, don't need you anymore? I always think that's kind of our purposeful stop in social care, is to, as a support worker or in any kind of health and social care related role, it's for us not to be needed anymore, make ourselves redundant in the process.
Absolutely.
Is that what attracted you to occupational therapy?
That was, definitely one of the things. I saw the opportunities that I had, the privileges that I had, and it was, for me, I think it was, there are people who I feel, don't have those opportunities, didn't have them. What can I do to help? And the more I sort of went into the profession, the more I worked, the more I came to the realization, exactly as you say, Amy, that actually my job is to be in a position where people say, you don't need to come anymore. Thank you for your time, but I'm happy to live my life.
And how empowering is that? Like I've had multiple conversations with people, and the joy in their voice when they say, I don't need it anymore, like it's such an achievement, isn't it? And I think we can sometimes forget how vulnerable it is to be in the position of requiring support, and actually when it's no longer needed, how empowering that is.
Yeah, very much so. And I think it's an interesting point you touched on there around vulnerability in terms of requiring support. I think one of our sort of skills, I think anybody that's working social care, but particularly if you're working to enable people or work on a re-enablement sort of philosophy, is acknowledging that the person doesn't want to sometimes accept the fact that they need help, or they don't want to expose themselves to another person and say, look, I'm vulnerable, I need help. And oftentimes there's several sessions where you work with a person just to build the trust, to build a relationship, to create that sort of non-judgmental environment for them to be able to open up and say, okay, this is what I'm having difficulty with, or this is where I want my life to go. and I don't know how to do it. How can we get there?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that trust, you need to do that, because that's where, again, as the person goes through their journey, there are times when, people that I work with, they feel vulnerable to take that extra step forward. And this where that sort of relationship and that trust is when they think, okay, if he's asking me to do it, then I trust him that this is the right thing,
the right path. Yeah. Even when it's difficult, and even when you don't want to get off the sofa.
yeah, absolutely.
So taking all of that learning then and all of that experience from all of those different roles, how do you think that's fed into commissioning? Because I think commissioning is a really tricky area of social work, because it's not, you're trained as a social worker, or you're trained in occupational therapy, or you're trained, in other aspects, health, as a nurse, for example. And often lots of these different career pathways end up in commissioning, don't they? Like you've said before, that your team is quite mixed and that you've got lots of kind of different skill sets there. But there's no course for commissioning. So how do you know that that's the right thing to be doing? Like how is all the learning that you've taken from occupational therapy kind of fed into creating really good structures or opportunities, or making sure that you're shaping? Because I think it's a real shaping role, isn't it, commissioning?
Yeah.
There's an opportunity there to really develop services for the future as well.
Yeah, very much so.
Is that what attracted you to it?
Yeah, I think, as an occupational therapist, I did come across commissioners, because we wanted to be able to do things with people. Sometimes there was an element of funding that needed to be agreed. And the more, again, a bit like occupational therapy, the more I found out about it, the more I thought, this is where I can make an impact.
Yeah.
And just as much as occupational therapy is about personalisation for the individual and helping, facilitating an individual on their journey, I see commissioning as being a similar thing, but for populations, for groups of people.
I like that. That does make sense.
You mentioned about our team and the different sort of backgrounds that we come from.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things that we all have in common. One is that we all care. We care what happens to people who are receiving services. And some of that stems from, I think, again, we've all had experience of care firsthand, either as people who have worked in the system or as recipients of care, and seeing how good care works, being inspired by that and wanting to make that something that's available to all people, not just a few.
And again, it's kind of a facilitator role, isn't it? Like, as you say, just on a different scale, in a different position. And you're almost building the blocks that will enable other people to social, you're putting the things on the shelf. I heard this the other week, so I'm stealing it from someone. But you're putting the things on the shelf that a social worker could pick up in their toolkit and then prescribe or, deliver or support somebody with.
Yeah. That's a very good analogy, actually. And I mean, for me, I think I would add to that in commissioning that toolkit, when we create that toolkit, it's a joint effort.
Yeah.
So yes, I might have an idea of what things we want there, what legislation guidance suggests we should have on that shelf. But at the same time, having been someone who's worked operationally, knowing that operational colleagues have some ideas around what would be beneficial, so taking inspiration from them to add to the toolkit. Having been a person who has received services, I know that I have ideas about what I would want. So again, trying to gain information from people who are going to be affected by whatever implementation that we're going to undertake for the service. So you're right, it is a shelf full of tools. And that's an analogy actually that I used to use quite often as an OT with people.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So you have a toolbox, and you have different things in your toolbox.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you some other stuff that you can put in the toolbox that you can use. So I think taking that to the level of commissioning is very much about what we all need to put into this thing. Sometimes it's easier than others.
Yeah.
Always beneficial when we get that information and feedback. And similarly, to occupational therapy, once we've implemented something, once we've created a service, or once we've developed a contract, we want to see how that goes.
Yeah. Do you get any of that feedback? I suppose you're a bit further removed from it than you used to be. So
yeah, it's not as immediate.
Yeah.
There are things that we do now. So we try and have regular meetings with operational colleagues.
Yeah.
In the different service areas and get feedback from them. We have developed sort of meetings again with our providers, so people that are actually supplying us with the services, and getting feedback from them on how things are. Our authority itself has an annual survey, and so we get information from people receiving services.
Oh, good.
We are looking to do more with that as well, really. Particularly with the sort of utilization of things like web-based forms, so people can give positive compliments as well as complaints.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hear when things work well. And when there are sort of challenges and barriers that present themselves, we're in a position where we can get that information quickly, and look to see how we can remedy that, so that things keep flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a responsibility, isn't it, in a commissioning position, because you have a duty to the people that you serve, the citizens of the authority. You have a duty to the social work team, to the operational staff. Like there's quite a few people to please, aren't there, within that kind of circle? How do you manage all of that?
That's another good question.
Yeah, full of them today. I guess it's that open communication, as you've said. Like
very much so.
Yeah, you've developed those channels, haven't you, to listen, and I think that's an important part of any of our roles in social work, is that open, coming to hear what's going on. Yeah,
absolutely. I think no one person or no one service knows everything. We have very good leadership in commissioning, who are able to sort of take what we need to do from a legislative perspective. So, what do we have to do according to the Care Act and so on, translate that into how we can work to mold a service. But then we take it out and have that communication, as you say, and feed into it. There's a balance, clearly. I think, if you ask people what's your ideal shopping list for XYZ service,
it'll be long. No one's leaving the details off.
No. Absolutely. And in the world that we live in today, it's about that balance between what's achievable, and actually what we can facilitate for people. And this is where my LT thinking comes in, I think, is, well, what can we do to enable people to do more for themselves? So do they really need to have a carer coming in, or do they really need to have a support worker coming in? Are there community resources that they can use? Are there existing services within the council that can cover that area?
And I think that's a big question. We do have a responsibility to one another as citizens, don't we? And I think that kind of school of thinking is coming into play a lot with commissioning now, and social work generally, is that actually we're a country who's kind of buckling a little bit under the pressure of the services we need to deliver. But we do have a society out there that's full of resources, and how can we galvanise that and bring that into the conversation? I think it's quite an exciting future ahead of us in those terms.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, and as an OT, I feel we need to do more of that, because I've been able to do it on an individual level with people.
Yeah.
And as we discussed earlier, seeing what the outcomes are. And if we can translate that into, on a population level, on a community level, I think it's really exciting, as you say. Not only can we help to create communities that are resilient and strong but cohesive, and supportive.
The 10-year plan, with the idea of kind of localised neighbourhood teams, for particularly it focuses on health, but actually social care will have to play into that, won't it? It's not, they don't act in isolation. Do you think that will be helpful to think more locally in terms of drawing on those community resources? And because I actually think it's hard for communities to think about their neighbour when their neighbour is actually someone on the other end of the city. That's not how it works, is it? But actually, if you think about your local street, and I think about my little kind of cul-de-sac where I live, and I've got quite a few elderly people around me, and we do feel a duty to them, because we're the youngsters there. We're not that young, and we do feel a duty that if somebody's fallen, to that they've got our phone number, they can ring us and we can help and we can be around. Or if they're struggling, one of our neighbours, fortunately, is kind of early onset dementia. So there's some scary times with that kind of stuff. But we feel a responsibility to them, because of they live, next door to us and they're around us. Do you think if we start to think a little bit more small scale, that actually we will see more of that from our populations?
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually, and I can only speak of my experience in Dudley as a commissioner, we are seeing that with some of the work that we're doing. It's sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised that neighbours are come across a scenario where someone is in a position, and you find that actually the neighbours are popping in to make sure they're okay. And sometimes you have family members that live locally. Great thing about technology is that you don't have to be in close proximity to an individual to see how they're getting on. There's lots and lots of different types of technology that allow that to happen. So that's an area that we're exploring as well. So creating the community, as in geographically proximity, but also community in terms of through technology.
And the network that you can call on in those situations. Because I guess it's graded, isn't it? Like there's, there's the popping in bit, but then there's the, well, actually, I can't do my own shopping bit. So technology might help there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know several people that do online shopping. And I think that model, we've actually adopted that sort of locality-based, community-based for our tenders, for our contracting. So we did one about a year ago, which has been going now for about a year, which is very much based on sort of zones. And that's very much about creating an environment where care workers and care agencies that deliver the service are familiar with the local area, they're familiar with the local people. They don't have to drive from one end of the borough to the other.
What a waste of time that we're paying for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. And, if you're walking around your local area, going from one visit to the second, you're going to see things that you're not if you're zooming to your next goal, which
absolutely. And you've got time to stop and say hello, or maybe there's a little bit more of that kind of, I was a little bit worried about someone earlier, and because I'm driving past and I've got 2 minutes, I can just pop my head in. Whereas you wouldn't do any of that, would you, if you were scheduled in with one call and then 20 minutes later another one somewhere else? Like it just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But maybe you feel a little bit more in touch with what's going on around you. You can be a bit more fluid.
Yeah, very much so. And for us, the next stage of that is as you say, tapping into the community, to work with the care agencies, to work with the support agencies, to think about, well, your staff go there every day. They go in the area. What else is around? What else is happening? What's happening in the community hall? What's happening in the church hall?
These spaces where people gather, I think they're really important to communities as well.
Yeah, very much so. And in terms of some of the things that we do as well from a commissioning perspective, when we are meeting with citizens of Dudley, we try to access those kind of spaces as well, rather than coming to the office block. To be able to give people that sense of we want to be part of that. I think that is the way forward.
Yeah, I agree. And it feels like it has to be the way forward, really, doesn't it? That we have to maybe, dare I say it, come away from our phones a bit, start looking people in the eye a bit more. Those kind of things. I think we need to start connecting, don't we, with what's around us.
Yeah. I think very much so. With any sort of new development, and I'm going to sidetrack a little bit here.
Yeah, go on.
With any kind of new development, people kind of, really, really get into it. And then as time goes on, there's like an equilibrium that occurs, a balance between, take cameras, for example, take TV, for example.
Yeah.
Where people were game consoles, those kinds of things. Telephones and technology, I think, is the same thing.
Yeah.
I think as a society, as providers of services or creators of services, we're understanding that there's a balance between the two. So you can't do all of one and you can't do all of the other.
Agreed. Yeah.
But where do we meet in the middle? So that's about creating that ideal balance between the two.
Yeah.
I think we're not there, but we will get there. And I think these are, like you say, these are exciting times because there's lots of developments happening. I mean, I think one of the things I love about commissioning is we're at the forefront of a lot of things.
Yeah, you are. You kind of at the starting block. Like you set the tone, don't you, for a lot of things, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll listen to what people are saying.
Yeah.
We'll see what's going on. And then we can test and try things. And I think as a team, as a service area, one of the things I've enjoyed about working in Dudley particularly has been that we're not afraid to try things.
Try and fail as well. Like,
absolutely.
We learn as much from that, don't we? Or more, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can't get things right all of the time.
No, you can't.
Yeah, but you can learn from things all the time.
Yeah.
And I think to steal the face from my manager, every day is a school day.
Yeah.
So if something doesn't work the way you thought it was, well, let's find out why.
Yeah.
And let's look at how we can make it better for next time.
Yeah.
So I think that's really exciting about commissioning as well.
Yeah.
Which again is a bit like occupational therapy in the sense that, you're going to work with someone to do something new, do something different, do something that they haven't done before.
Yeah. And that is exciting, isn't it? And I guess part of that, if we draw that same comparison from occupational therapy, is that you always had your sights on a certain goal, didn't you? Like there was a target that you were working towards, and you kind of knew there might be changes along the way as to how to get there, but that you knew where you were headed. And I think do you feel the same in commissioning? Do you feel like how do you structure good care around, what value set, or I guess it needs to have a target, doesn't it, to know where you're headed?
Yeah.
Is that decided by the citizen, the population? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. Clearly we do our research and see what's happening in terms of demographics. What's happening with the changes in the population. You mentioned like older people, so we recognise that there are more. Britain is an ageing population, and and it's also a population where people are living with long-term conditions.
Yeah.
So health has a part to play in that, obviously. But social care has an equal part to play, because once people have done what they need to do within health, the remainder of their sort of care, in essence, falls to us. So I think it's taking information like that, what's happening with people, what's happening with health trends, hearing from colleagues in public health in terms of what they're seeing, taking into account the sort of direction from, as I said, in terms of the legal framework that we have to operate under, and putting that all together into a melting pot, and trying to come up with something that will work. And I think we've done a reasonably good job of it.
Yeah.
We've had satisfied customers, and I think what I like again about working in commissioning is that you don't stop. So we you create a service, you develop a contract, but you don't stop. You don't say, okay, done it now.
I've done it now. My job is done.
My job is done.
Everybody is satisfied.
Yeah. Okay, so what can we? Let's chip away at the edges. What can we make better? What's happening? What's coming down the pipeline that we can bring in? So in a sense, there is kind of like a need to do that, to keep abreast. At the same time, I think there's a need to have a level of stability. So oftentimes our contracts are long-term contracts, but we build within them the flexibility. So if needs of an area, population change, if the needs of a particular group change, we've got that flexibility to be able to move things forward, and not just keep doing the same thing that we were doing back then.
Yeah, nothing stays still, does it?
True.
What do you think is your proudest moment of commissioning to date?
I think to date, I would say there's a couple. I would say probably, speaking purely from a commissioner perspective.
Yeah.
My colleague and I, with some support, we actually took a contract from the sort of embryonic stage, all the way through to completion, mobilization, implementation. It was something that I hadn't done before, but it's a skill set that now I've developed. It was a stressful journey, but it was also a really good learning journey as well. Opened my mind to so many different things. For me, I feel one of the things that kept me sane was my background, that problem solving, solution focused, keeping the goal in mind, and breaking it down into steps. And I think my manager, she kept us sane as well.
Yeah, you talked before about good leadership. It's quite important, isn't it? I think particularly in high stress jobs, perhaps like social care, often create. Do you think, or high pressure jobs rather? Do you think how has the leadership that you've seen supported you through? How does it take you where you are now?
I think 100% you're right. Good leadership, is inspirational. It creates motivation. A desire to want to do the best in your role, and work to the best of your abilities. I think when you are feeling flat and you feel like you need somebody to help, then a good leader offers that helping hand. It's certainly, I think, non-judgmental. And I think I've had sort of various leaders over the years, and some of them have been really good. As an OT, I had managers who were inspirational for my practice, and helped me to think and develop as an OT. And in commissioning, I think the leadership that we've had has again been really amazing, really inspirational. As you said, it's a high pressure job. There's lots of things that we need to consider, and like you say, there isn't although there is kind of now a formal course for how to become a commissioner. Yeah. So you have to bring your own kind of practice in, but you then have to learn certain skills. And having someone who, as a leader, is free with their time, free with their knowledge, gives it unconditionally, is really, really valuable. Because I think we all need to ask questions, don't we? There are times when we're not sure about something, when we don't know something, and to be able to have the trust in your leader to say, I don't know this. Can you tell me? Can you help me?
Which I guess brings us back full circle to that vulnerability of people in receipt of support. Actually, we all go through that process, don't we, before we learn and develop. It's to kind of put our hands up and say, I don't know this bit. Can you guide me through? And maybe that's one of the foundations of good care then. Do you think? Do you want to summarise what you think good care looks like?
That's another good question. I think,
It's the final question.
I see. So you
the
said
most important.
The best still last. For me, I think good care is personalised. It has to be, the person has to be at the centre of what you're offering them. I think, like I said earlier, it has to be a balance between what they need and what they want. And that's about, for example, if we're going to deliver a service, yes, there's like a standard baseline that we have to have, but we have to have that flexibility to be able to, the nuance of working with a particular subset of people within that population. So I think for me, good care is very much about personalization. It's about empowerment. It's about creating the environment where people can thrive. It's creating opportunities for people. For example, I think within say domiciliary care as a sector, there's a recognition that there's been too much of a focus on delivering tasks, but actually there's so much more that they can do with people, and exploring that and how we can do that. So I think for me, it's about being able to say, okay, this is what we want to be able to achieve with people. How are we going to do it? How are we going to involve them in it? And how do we keep checking that we're going in the right direction?
Yeah. Brilliant. And you've just summarised commissioning as well. All links together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Amy.
See you soon.
Invite me.